Hey, it's Caroline Cfulghum, sitting here reading about Macbeth and watching the movie Men of Respect. That was the choice I made. A brief synopsis. It's regarding mafia, government, media corruption, murder, crime family, and the power struggle that they go through, changing of heads. Charlie, who's the head boss, tells Rossi, who would be comparable to another character in Macbeth, to leave the mob, take a vacation. So it starts out with Michael Battaglia, who kills the Greek in a bar. It meets Lucia, who is the witch of Macbeth, but her name is Lucia, and she has the gift of sight. Como is another character. Ruthie is the wife of Michael, and so the plot thickens. Similarities, where Charlie announces that Michael is the new power of the family, but he's still below his son, whose praises he sings during the announcement. Because Michael is the one who killed the Greek and establishes his power. And then comparable, Duncan announces the power to Macbeth, but ranking him below his own son. And then another similarity would be the death of the King Duncan versus the death of Charlie D'Amico. Both wives were power hungry. Macbeth and Charlie both contemplate the future, and the wives both push their husbands ahead with the deeds of murder. Macbeth hears, during the murder, Macbeth hears the chamberlains awaken and say their prayers. And in the movie, Michael hears a cat scream because his wife was in the alleyway and stepped on a cat. The plots are similar with the murder of the leaders, the setup in the courtyard, and death of the leaders by knife. Also similar were the paranoia, the revenge, and the ultimate ending, coming out to be a good ending for the ones who sought revenge. Macbeth meets with three witches that appear in smoke, and Michael meets with one witch that is in a wheelchair and two men, hence still three people. And the witches are similar in their grotesque look and voice. The woman tells Michael of no harm from any man born of woman, and Duffy, who is also another character, the Irishman, is not born of woman. Rossi takes back power and gives Como's son power, similar to Ross and Fleance in Macbeth. Differences that I saw: the time and place are set apart. Back in the 1800s versus, or 1600s versus the 1990s. And then communications were written and couriered at Macbeth, like when Macbeth let his wife know that the king was coming. And of course, in Men of Respect, they said, well, phone call suffices. Ruthie runs the restaurant Fedora and has more liberation than Lady Macbeth, I feel. Lady Macbeth, during her plotting, gives the chamberlains wine to get them drunk, whereas Ruthie slips something in their bodyguard's coffee. So different carriers of making guards go to sleep. The witches appear to Macbeth, and the difference here is the husband lures Michael and Como to his wife, who sees the future. the street fights and shootings are definitely a different thing than what you would see in the Macbeth time. And Macbeth had a castle. Michael's home was part of a restaurant and bed and breakfast, it appears. It looked run down and dirty. I guess it was his own castle, but not necessarily a castle. As far as adapting the work to time, place, and culture, the adaptation is very similar, and many parts of the story are the same. Language, violence, and crime and murder were parts involving the behavior of the mafia. This was typical of the characters and neoclassical times and ideals. There was hierarchy, with Charlie being the head of the family and acting as such. So the roles of what's the word? Anyway, yes, he acted more of a boss than the others. And then true to life or verisimilitude, for example, the witches versus the old lady who sees the future. The witches were not in neoclassical ideals, whereas the old lady was, because she was really human. As far as time, place, and actions, the scenes were set to a certain time frame, but definitely more than a 24-hour period. So the scenes were taken in different places, and there was more than one plot for sure. I would give the show maybe I like the clapping hands, maybe a 14 out of 20 clapping hands. It just wasn't, to me, as well acted. The actors were just nasty, in my opinion. For instance, the place that they lived was just grotesque, and even the wife Ruthie talked about dirty tablecloths and how do you open a restaurant and serve a restaurant with that. As far as it skipped around a lot. The time frame was, it kind of vacillated back and forth, so you had to kind of keep up with it. I guess that's all the examples I have. All right. I enjoyed the movie overall, but I guess because it was in 1991, even times have changed even more now. So, all right. Thanks.